What is up, guys and girls? Hurricane Liz here, back for another Hot 5 KDP niches of the week. And this week, we're going to further go ahead and deep dive into the categories that we have options for. And again, like I said, we're not always going to find ideas in the higher level categories because sometimes we see the same books over and over again. But we've got to deep dive in order to really dig and find more and more inspiration for ideas. So I'm super fired up to show you this technique. I hope you're fired up. Let's go and do this. All right, so as usual, here I am inside of the hot new releases, and we're going to go to Amazon and Google, just Amazon hot new releases, and we're not going to go into Amazon, we're going to go into Google. So duh, already there I'm already making a dumb mistake, but either way, I'm going to jump into the books category, and then as usual, we're going to go into children's books. And what we're going to do is jump into something that we've never jumped into before. So obviously we have all these choices for categories, and I usually go to children's books. I usually go to activities, crafts, and games because I'm usually looking for activity books and coloring books. But this time we're going to do something a little different. And also keep in mind, this does not just relate to children's books, as we always go through coloring books for adults. So there are a lot of categories outside of the children's books niche that do have those coloring books, and those can be something like crafts, hobbies, and home. And what I'll go ahead and do is for next week's video, I will find out what the top 5 categories are for adult coloring books, and we will comb through those for the very first time. So I'm excited about that. I hope you're excited for that. But for now, let's stick to the good old kids books, which I know a lot of people are like, kids books, who gives a crap about those? Well, obviously a lot of you do because you make your bread and butter from that. So I'm going to scroll through here and pick something that I would probably not ever pick, something like fairy tales, folk tales, and myths. How about that? That sounds good. Even geography and culture sounds good, but we're more than likely going to find a bunch of map books, how I've been talking about, or something else. So in this children's folk tales and myths, I'm imagining a bunch of crap with dragons, since already we've seen 2, and we've previously talked about dragon in another video. So yeah, sure enough, dragon books. Here we got Jungle Cruise from Disney. Here we go with the theme that I've been talking about, which is farting, sharding, taking a turd or taking a dump or anything like that. And what better way to celebrate this than have a farting leprechaun, which is classic, particularly because we're going right into St. Patrick's Day. This one's pretty ingenious, and it just so happens to be the name of one of my good friends, so nothing funnier than Larry the farting leprechaun. Obviously, there's some alliteration going on there, Larry and leprechaun. I think that's the right term for it. Either way, this book, while it's doing extremely well, it only has a really crappy star review, so I'm kind of surprised for that. I am curious to jump in there, but for sake of time, we're not going to jump in there and find out why people are complaining about this leprechaun farting around, but maybe it's just because he's lazy and he's farting around all day. Maybe they want him to get a job, a real job at least. So here we have some more Wings of Fire, which is again on the dragon theme. One thing that I do notice on here, and it could just be that we're in the fairy tales section, but there's a lot of stuff about dragons and things like that, so it might throw me off and make me think that a lot of people are buying fantasy related books, although they are. But again, I am in the fairy tales, folklore, and myths category. So you could make a actual argument for creating a fantasy type book. And again, they sell quite well. As we can see that we're in the top 15. We'll see where we are once we cap it off at the 100. We'll see what number BSR they have, because there can be an argument made for saying that any type of fairy tale or fantasy book will do extremely well, particularly the fantasy book. I've seen Jade Summer do this a lot in the adult niche, where they create fantasy type related elven girls and things of that nature that does extremely well, and it has a really good BSR. So just want to keep that in mind. We'll think about that as we get on up to the hundreds, but again, I don't want to get thrown off by the simple fact that I am in that category, so I should expect to see a lot of fantasy related books already. So we'll see how well they're all selling. So again, we also see a scary stories when we've seen the scary story thing before. Here we go, Cupid's fart arrows. There's no better arrow to get than a fart arrow. It just gives you that extra little sense of something chocolatey and something delicious, just smacking you right in the ass, right? So that's really cool. Bedtime stories for kids, we talked about that in the past. Unicorn, which again, we would imagine that unicorns are in this as well. So we're going to keep an eye on unicorns, because again, that's another fantasy thing. Here's another unicorn. But so far as the top 30 is concerned, I've seen dragon ones, I've seen fantasy books, and I've seen unicorn books doing extremely well. Here is something that we've talked about in the past, and I want to officially call this one out again, because I think a lot of you guys out there speak many different languages, but books in other languages. This one is about a rooster and it looks like it's in Portuguese. Here's the Portuguese version. So books in different languages do extremely well. I've seen a lot in Spanish. I saw one about an insect in Spanish on another video that I was making. So this one's in Portuguese. So there's 2 languages already that are selling well. So that is the first one that I'm going to call out as that seems extremely well. Here's another one about quests and fantasy, a very good rank. Here's one about a Yeti, which is kind of cute because we are in the midst of winter, so I'm going to keep an eye out on Yetis. Princess Kitty, which is kind of interesting. Princess Kitty is definitely caught my eye here. Here we've got more fantasy books, and this is an acorn book, unicorn, and let's see what else this guy. This looks like another, let's see what it says, unicorn and Yeti. So again, another Yeti, and just like I thought, Yetis are going to obviously be very hot because we're right in the midst of winter. So again, the second one is some kind of book about Yetis, as people are accustomed to learning about Yetis or thinking about Yetis during the winter. And a Yeti kind of reminds me of that Wampa from Star Wars. So Star Wars is really hot right now, and a Yeti kind of plays off that theme. And so again, the Yeti is a pretty good idea for the time being. So Yeti just popped up. Here's Poopy the Pooting Panda. What better way to celebrate a panda than one that poots? And this is nothing more than somebody changing the fart thing to a poot. I love this one. It's awesome. Whoever did this one is doing an amazing job, and it's got a really good BSR, which means it's doing really good. So these 2 dragon ones are crushing it. Here we have more bedtime stories. We have bedtime stories for kids with a magic unicorn. That's 16,000. And again, more unicorns, more bedtime stories for children. So again, bedtime stories seem to be all the rage lately again, and more unicorns as well. Again, dragons as well just popping up in unicorns. All these are doing extremely well, which is quite surprising that still after we called them out weeks and weeks ago, possibly even a year. Here's a how to draw a dragon step-by-step for kids. Special edition. This is only a Kindle version book. So if you are a talented artist and you can show people how to do this, even if you're not, you can buy this and sort of kind of copy off of it and take the good parts, steal like an artist, put them into your book, try and figure out a better way to do it. So anything dragon related seems to be still all the rage. And I'm not really seeing that anything different is pointing me away from that. So I'm going to just say right now, dragons again are on fire. So if you haven't already done one, think of some creative way to do it, like how to draw a dragon. Another great way to be able to do a dragon is dragons with scissor skills. So that's a different way that I would do it. And then the last thing is the fantasy books. I've combed through almost 100, and the fantasy books are pretty much on fire. All of them that I've seen thus far are under the 100K BSR rank, which means if you have a talented artist or you are a talented artist yourself and you can create something very similar that Jade Summer did with the fantasy women one that I talked about with the elven women and things of that nature. That book is a classic Jade Summer, and it's pretty much always sold extremely well. It's always held an excellent BSR, and it looks like fantasy is all the rage. We've seen a lot of dragon books. We've seen a lot of fantasy tale books in the top bestsellers in children's books, so there's a reason why. The other thing that I've seen is seen that there's a resurgence of unicorns, and I know we joke around it and we talk about you slap a unicorn on something and pretty much it will sell no matter what it is. Here's again another one that caught me off track. I'm very easy to get off track. It's like squirrel, and there I am. Who Loves the Dragon? This is clearly a winner for Valentine's Day, and still it's reaping the benefits and the rewards of being placed very well for Valentine's Day. And there's nothing better than a red dragon for Valentine's Day. It's 85,000 in books, and I'm pretty certain that this one, if we click into it, this one was probably selling extremely well not too long ago. It's 30,000 in books. It seemed to have peaked at about 24,000 in books, and now it's just creeping up because, again, we're done with Valentine's Day, but it's still doing pretty well. So I've got my Keepa back. Everything is good. All's good in the world. There was a book about beasts that we just peeked in there. So any type of beast is doing extremely well. Any type of unicorn that you can kind of throw it in there. I've seen a couple mermaid unicorns. I've seen a couple kitty unicorns. I've seen a couple of friends with unicorns. This Dave and the Unicorn is at 100K. So the resurgence of unicorns is what I see happening here. Also, a lot of bedtime stories that are doing extremely well. So keep an eye out on those, or come up with a great idea for those. But other than that, we do see a lot of very similar themes that repeat themselves, and also people creatively turn them into the flavor of the month or the flavor of the season. And I'll give you an idea of what I mean by that. Going back to this dragon one, obviously dragons are fire. They're doing extremely well. They are crushing the charts. But what better way to use a dragon than interweave him somehow into a Valentine themed book, which absolutely crushes it, and then in the long run puts more money in your pocket. If you rank that book well for one season and you continue to work on it every single season, you will have a cash cow every single year come Valentine's Day. It's very similar to the turkey shirt that I made. Never would I imagine in my wildest dreams that turkey shirt would have crushed it as well as it had on Amazon without me having to almost lift a single finger. Remember, I didn't design it. All I did is put it up there. I didn't even run ads. It just went viral, and now every single year it is at the top of the charts for Turkey Girl t-shirts, and it absolutely destroys the competition on Amazon. You too can have something like that if you work on that theme year and year again. Now imagine my turkey shirt if I had just put a little bit more elbow grease into it and a little bit of ad spend. Who knows where it would be today? And that's why I said next year I'm definitely doing that. So again, questions in our comments, post them below. I always personally answer them, and I will see you all in the next video.